Greetings, greetings, greetings. You are now tuned into the vault. Trust Christian, own nothing, control everything. Just want to thank you for tuning in live, listening to replay. Always appreciate everybody that tunes in live, listens in the replay. This is the vault, episode 488. How to own your name. This is one of those episodes that is always going to be by demand. This has been a consensus throughout the years. People asking questions. How do you own your name? So we finally had to talk about it on our platform. Once again, this is the Vault, episode 488. How to own your name. Once again, this is just one of those episodes where, people. Well, we'll go ahead and start out right. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. It means a lot to the channel. We always appreciate everybody that hits the like and the subscribe button. It just makes the channel have strength so the message can go out to other people and be shared with others as well. So we always appreciate the people that take the few seconds in the beginning here to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't yet. Always appreciate the new subscribers. Always growing all the time. We always appreciate you. I don't know your name. They come through for years now. Oh, trust Christian in the vault. I want to own the birth certificate. Oh, we're gonna do this episode. We're gonna do this episode not because we have to for the birth certificate. We're gonna do this episode because what's the point of trying to own public property? They want to keep coming back year after year, consultation after consultation. They keep reading public information and saying, "Oh, I want to own the public name." What name is that? Where's the all caps name? I'm the lowercase name. What difference does it make? What makes a difference? We're going to find out because we sit in front of the people that you're going to be sitting in front of as well. It's business, not personal. How to own your name. Oh, can you teach us how to own our name through what? Through owning some type of public trust? Some type of public entity? And then here we go. If there's a public trust, what has the public governing instrument? Is it private? No, it's public. So for that reason, we know, how do you own that name ever? You don't own it. You're right. You might be a trustee. You might be private. But you're in the public now, acting as a public officer because you're trying to own your name. They come to us year after year, consultation after consultation. You can feel free to get a consultation. Christian at trustchristian.com. Once again, that's Christian at trustchristian.com. Even Trustee Training. Feel free to reach out. How to own your name? And think about this psychology. They want people to own their name, not control it. Why? Because if you control it, you might be like the guys that were managing the banks recently, and you're the CEO. And yeah, the bank went under, but you still got your bonus. That's how the game looks in capitalism. They didn't need to own their name. You think their name is bankrupt with the company? They're the CEOs. They're the board members. Right? How are you making $40,000 a year? $60,000 a year? And they just lost billions. And he made $200,000 this year with a bonus. And the company went under in the first quarter. Well, second quarter. Company was going under a long time ago. They knew this and they still got a bonus. This is the country that if you find yourself to be living in, you're living in a country where it says if you own a debt, it's personal. If it's in your name, you own it. It's personal. In the company, it's business. How to own your name. Oh, well, trust Christian in the vault. I set up my own private trust. Here, that's what they say. Or I got something I'm operating, and this is what they want to do. This how you know you're not ready for the private. You're not trained yet. Because this is what they say. I created my own trust, and I'm going to go in the public and try to capture my name. That's literally what they say. So you're going in the public trying to capture a public name that's floating in the public as a copyright. You know, like after a period of time, they have copyrights that float in the public. They're not just private anymore. They have copyrights for a period of time, and then they go public. Oh, no, no, no. How do you own your name? It's interesting to see this thought process that they have when they talk about how do you own a name. It's one of those questions. Well, do you own the spelling? Think about it. Some people have a name that's very common. Do you own it on a federal level? Do you own it on a state level? Do you own it internationally? These are copyright infringements, patent infringements that companies go against all the time. How do you own your name? Oh man, he didn't tell us how to discharge because they told us that we could discharge off of our name. What? If you own your name, you could discharge off your name? Someone owes your name? Who owes your name? Who owns it? Who owes it? Now, this is a sweat equity game, whether y'all know it or not. See, we're in the public, whether people want to call it shares or in the private, we call it equity. People say, oh, I want to be in trusteeship. Are you in the public in shares? Or are you in the private in equity? Did you put in your sweat equity? Oh no, I didn't put any sweat equity. This is what they come to the vault. This is their number one question. How do I come to the trustee training and I don't have any assets? You supposed to own your name, right? Isn't that what they say in the public? Own your name. If you own your name, you got some type of value. You could discharge off it. You could do all this stuff. Yeah, right. You gotta put sweat equity in. No, don't tell me that. The sweat equity, putting in the structures, putting in the family place, the family estate. The family estate is at apparel. And what are they doing? They going on vacations. They don't want to own their name. There's no need to own your name. Why? Because most people don't have more than $10,000 in America in their savings. Their 401ks hold more value. And that's because it was supposed to be a contributing plan. That means their company was matching their plan, matching their contribution to the savings that they say they were supposed to be having in America. Huh? It's the land of the sheep. Most of Americans, they would say you need to own your name. Now you think about that. What difference does it make if you're owning it in trusteeship or if you're owning it in the public? Either way, you're still the officer for it. But oh no, no, they don't want to give up ownership. Maybe people don't understand the importance of control. Well, how to own your name? We got a trustee that came through and said, well, what about the soul prop? I need you to explain the soul prop for me. Well, did you do the research? Are you going to know per the entities that you're dealing with? This is a very important thing. You say, oh, I want to be in trusteeship. No doubt about it. guess what? We got to go through a formal lesson now. There's nothing wrong with that. But just know that takes away from the questions that you currently have. See, the training is based off what you need done right now. People will come through and say, "Oh, I just need to have something in place for my family estate." And then, i.e., that means their house. They're trying to put their family estate in their house. Now, whether y'all know it or not, we've been going through the ranks for the years now. And we've seen family after family after family after family. If you want to know, 60% of the people that come through the vault, families that come through the vault, have a mortgage. So you're not doing any different if you have one. They got mortgages. So now you got the other percentage. They have the property outright. And they're going private trusteeship. That's that. Did they need to own their name? No. Did they need to own the property? No. It's trust Christian, own nothing, control everything. How do you own your name? You trust Christian, own nothing, control everything. That's how that looks. It's no anything spookiness behind it. It's just the world we live in. They say, well, there's no privacy. How are you going to operate in an environment where they say there is no privacy, where there's no entitlement to your body, where we can hold your body? There is no hold your body. But there is a hold a name. Because a name can almost be a legal construct. This is how we look into it from the lawman's perspective. When you talk to people that you say, oh, well, I'm going to have a lawyer defend me in court. Well, if you're going to have a lawyer around in any environment, it's good to know. It's very important to know. When we talk about, oh, owning your name, people have come through the vault for years. We know we've gone really fast with this episode because these are the type of topics they come through continuously with. And we're going to keep putting out the episodes for them so they can just keep getting to them. How you going to own something in the public? The public is a debt. You can't own anything in a debt. What are we talking about here? See, these are the things you know when you're in the private sector. You might not know these things in the public, but in the private sector, we're very aware. Private is equity. That means debt. That's another type of debt. But in the public, they have a different type of debt as well. They're going public with it. Shares. How you gonna own a name? Oh man, the government, they trying to put a debt on my name. Oh really? How much equity did you put in? How much equity? Oh no, I didn't know that was on what I gotta do. The name in the full uppercase is equity still. It shows equity still. Whether people want to hear that or not. In the all caps, it shows equity. It shows there's some type of intrinsic value. This is how they try to say, oh man, my name is worth it in gold. My name's worth something in gold. Then we got gold at all-time highs. Because your name's got to be worth more than gold. You got to do what you say you're going to do. So you can be worth naming gold. That's worth $2,000 right now. $1,900 an ounce. That's something you can hold in one hand. If you can hold more than one in hand, think about that. How holding something in your hand around the world, you can go anywhere, set up shop, and open up with that type of value in your hands. This is the world we're living in. How many people are here for the brave new world? Oh man, I got a whole precious commodities. Is your name a commodity? We should have put a OU. There is no OU. It's only you. In the world we live in, they're trying to pin things down, some to names. When we say pin, we're talking about knowing that some people say, oh man, I don't want to hold a debt instrument. Do you hear this type of conversation? Oh man, it's a debt instrument. Do you hear this? Oh, I got a security. Do you hear? Oh, let's just go ahead and get it out there. It's a security trust, Christian, in the vault. My name is a security. Because it's on the birth certificate. It has a QSIP number. That's what they say. This is what they come to us with. We speaking from what we hear, not from the old. Just got it from surfing the internet. We're not on the internet enough. We getting from the consultations. People come through and say, "Oh man, I want to go in trusteeship and I want to control this." And what's interesting, we haven't heard one of the more quality thoughts in a long time. It's being honest. The market is just at a place where, what do you guys want? Do you want to own the birth certificate? What are we talking about here? They're not. Oh, I don't want to just own the birth certificate. What do you want to do? I want to put it in trusteeship. How can I do that? How? It's a public situation. They got a public document for that. It's called the Social Security Administration Act. You could read it. Oh man, it's more than 100 pages. Exactly. And this is where they stop the dumb, deaf, and blind. After 100 pages. It's statistically written that if it's more than 100 pages, most people aren't going to read it. Oh man, I want to own my name. How you want to be private, but you want to own a name? I thought it was trust Christian, know nothing, control everything. That's the private. Well, that's true. And here we are, once again. How do we move out here in today's day and age? It's keeping your nose clean and operating as an entrepreneur investor. Operate on the right side of the quadrant for Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad Poor Dad four quadrants. It's operating on the right hand side. You say, oh, how do I own my name? Whether you coming through with some soul prop garbage or you coming through with trusteeship thought process, at the end of the day, it's not about ownership. It's about control. And what's interesting is that we see a lot of people when they cross over to the right hand side or when they're on the right hand side, they operate through businesses. They operate through not owning anything. They're founders, they're presidents. And this is where we are in today's day and age. No one wants to know how some of the greats are operating because at this point, no one wants to know that. It's interesting to hear that. We almost can say this on our platform that people don't want to know what the greats are doing and their names because then they would feel differently about that person. Well, that's on you. This is the world we live in. How do you live in a country that you say is that have to literally we're sitting here today and we're looking at this garbage about the debt ceiling. And people, how does politics get tied to the stock market? They're not correlated. So many people think that, oh man, the stock market is correlated to politics. How? They have the stock market is dealing with companies and then reporting your buying habits. How well you're shopping at McDonald's, how well you're shopping at Target, how well you're shopping at, Walmart, how well they're at Tesla, how well you're shopping at these different places. They're reporting that in their company earnings and they're reporting that through the stock market. What are we talking about here? Oh man, well, let's see if, if this president can make themselves look good real quick. Ladies and gentlemen, if you guys only knew, it has nothing to do with the president. It has everything to do with how well you're able to have a job or how well you're able to capture wealth and how well you're able to spend that wealth, and that's the market that you're living in right now. We're living through actually the roaring 20s. No one wants to hear this because we're 3 years deep into They could say the inflation is at 3 to 4%. It could be at 5. They don't want it to be at 7 or 70s or 80 status. They want it to be at 3, 4, no more. That's where the policies are at right now. How do you own your name through this time? Oh, there's no privacy. See, that's the first food pot that you got to get through. Oh, there is no privacy. You can't own your name. Well, why do you need to own a name? This is the clout that they have people out here. Oh, you got to own your name on these platforms. Exactly. They want you to verify an identity. Okay, no problem. Verify your avatar. There you go. And pay for it. Right. They had to finally, what do they call it? Commercialize freemium. First it was free, now it's a premium. It's freemium. And now it's just commercialized. Pay for the name. Right. They want you to pay for your social credits. This is the market we're living in. Big tech can adapt. Humans may already be behind to a degree. Someone asked a question in the chat: how to own your name. If the private trust owns everything, what entity should uh, obtain and build credit? Uh, that's a great question. It's not legal advice, financial advice. So, uh, we like to always tell trustees or people in the public that public companies like dealing with public companies, like trust like dealing with trust. It's just how it goes. So, a lot of trustees will think, well, if I go to a bank and trust, that's going to favor trusteeship. Sure, some of them are too small sometimes. Sometimes they're community banks. It's the same thing with building credit. Sometimes when you're dealing with credit unions and things of those natures and the credit places, these places want to deal with similar style of entities where they can go research them, on some public platform and see that, there's some verified entity and things of that nature. Those are things that they're always looking for. So, they want to be able to look up this. Okay, we were sitting in front of this guy the other day. This is funny. Huh? You don't want to know what a Goomba is. This is a Goomba. What do they call them? Play-Doh. Play-Doh actually doesn't think. You think if you can go get $100,000 in credit on a credit card, why wouldn't you go get another 100 in equity? But they don't know about equity. See how we talked about that earlier in this episode? They didn't know about equity. Oh, they didn't come with it. We gonna get the equity, but how much more equity can you get? Do they know that? Maybe they don't, and we clearly knew that they didn't. That's just being honest. Uh, and so one of the things is we talked to them about Duns and Bradstreet. So when you're dealing in the public, if you're dealing in the public with a credit based entity, they want to see, banks or otherwise traditionally want to see Duns and Bradstreet. They just want to see that approval and that's not even like that's not completely LexisNexis. It's not completely like they can go deeper in their searches, ladies and gentlemen. They're just being very direct with you all, and honestly, these organizations, they do searches. They do search like, okay, and we're sitting in, and this is what we're saying. So we're sitting in front of this guy. We know they don't want to be private, so you all don't have to worry about that. They didn't want to be private because when you want to be private, you seek and then you find. So you gotta seek and then you find. We were sharing the message. It said, what would be the benefit of not PGing? So if you have over $100,000 in equity, why would you be PGing? This is how you know you lost in America right here. How you PGing anything at 100K? In equity, that's not hypothecation, that's equity. If the bank is going to take your 100K and give out 9 times, it's not settling. It didn't settle because they don't know American banking yet. fair, fair. That's they sit on the market, and these are the people that work at the hard, not the smart. Yeah, they work at the hard, not the smart. So how do you own your name? Think about it. This is how they trying to own their name. How do you own your name? They got loans in their name. They're gonna take out PGs in their name. They got over $100,000 in credit. They got equity. Whether you all want to hear this or not, we hear from consultations and sourcing the market. $500,000. Some people say, "Oh man, that's a dream, man, to have $500,000 worth of gold in my name, $500,000 worth of equity in my name." Right, and they still are PG in it because they don't understand how credit works in America. That's the facts. Oh, so whether they find out the easy way and then they start going out and buying Rolls Royces and leasing them out, so they still got money in equity. They get an extension of credit and then they go lease out Rolls Royces. Start having these watches so they can look well, like they're doing well, but really they're on credit well. No worries. This is the game that the world lives in right now. Uh, that's how some are gonna play it. That's how public credit looks. Oh man, we will think about this. We already talked to the individual we just shared with y'all. They got $100,000 in business credit in their name still, right? Because they're doing flips with houses. But then they have a personal residence in their name. They have a personal residence in an LLC, right? It's in their name, right? So how do they get around that situation? If they're gonna move in trusteeship, you would know how that's gonna look. The point being is now, okay, they're still PG in properties when you have over $500,000 worth of equity in your personal residence. When you have cash flow of over five to ten, $20,000 monthly. These are the positive numbers that you say, oh, how do you get credit? We talked to them about the working capital loan, the other loans that they can get. Okay, well, they were doing that with an LLC. Right. They were also doing that as a PG. Now, that's the facts. Some people say, oh man, oh, that ain't gonna be me. No worries. We hear from you. We have trustees that come to our town and say, yep, I'm actually partially out of that position. I'm going to fully get out of that position, and I need to make sure that I'm protected. Do they own their name? They would like to think that they don't. But some of the trustees, they really got to learn that. The faster you let go of owning your name, the faster life will be easier for people to operate. These are things that when you get into wealthy circles, we know that nothing's supposed to be in your name. How about that? We know that. Nothing's supposed to be in your name. Then you don't need to own it. Why do I need to own my name? Ownership incurs liability. How many of these robots do they want running around? Understanding private side. How many? It's only going to be less than 2% of us walking. Just to let you all know. This is one of those things that we've seen throughout the years. We could say it's an 80-20 rule, and that's as good as it's going to get. 80-20. But that just lets you know 20%, when we go into the 20s, it's going to be another 80 that's going to get whacked out. So if you can qualify for that last or that one more tier, we know where we made it in life. How to own your name. Some people say, oh man, do I need to own it? Now we know that you don't. We see so many people go by aliases. Even the PG, where does this come from? This public thought process. They trick you in after you have over $50,000 in loan in equity. Think about it. If you got over $50,000 in equity, this is light. Let's just start here for the American public. This is how you know the American public's been duped. They rather go to school and get $100,000 student loan, a $50,000 student loan, but when you have $50,000 in equity, that's the equivalent of a Rolex. That does not a house. But think about it. Some people get houses through tax lien sales through that for less than $50,000. So they literally can get a house for less than $50,000 through a tax lien sale. All right. So we back to equity. They have $50,000 in equity. That costs more than a Rolex. Rolex about 50, 38, 46, 56. Oh, a house costs you in the Midwest 100K. Yeah, that was in 1930. 1923. It's 2023. The house is 400, 500. Whereas the working population for 50K. They say that's what a person makes in a year. Go look at the average income level for the United States. Median income. Okay. So you got there basically somebody's salary 1 year in savings. Okay, great. Why would we be PG? You already got there's the working populations. That literally could go for so many people in the population. And now we get to this point where people feel like the bank says, "Oh, we need you to PG." And people sit there and they say, "Well, why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't you? The guy sitting across from you at the bank, does he have $50,000 saved up? Probably not. That is the 2% of the population again. Let's go back to it. That's the 2%. That's oh man, I had to work that hard. Yes, you really worked that hard. You have $50,000 minimum in savings and equity. That's where we are. So once we get to 50 in equity, I mean, we've already talked to this audience here and just share with you all that we sit in front of people that have 500K in equity and they're still PGing. So if you think, oh man, I should stop PGing at 50, there are people that aren't not PGing at 500. Is that a good thing? Not necessarily. Why do you feel you have to PG when you have equity? Well, I'm doing it because the bank keep asking me. Exactly. They just keep doing it because the bank keeps asking them. Appreciate the commentary in the chat for right now. Definitely, I always appreciate people commentating in the chat. It's good to know. We know we do pop up episodes. Feel free to like and definitely hit the subscribe button. We always appreciate the likes. We need the likes to keep the channel growing. So, definitely hit the like button. Uh, it is interesting, we see, this process and people coming through. It's always good to see people out here, move in a certain fashion and having freedom. It, it's so much that we could talk about, but how are you going to think about this? You lose freedom when you own something. No one wants to talk about that in the public because the public says if you own it, it's a asset based liability. It's like having a house. So if you buy the house, then it's an asset, but really it's a liability. If you have a mortgage, you have to pay on it, and you have HOA fees and all these other things. You gotta actually like maintain this thing, so it costs money. So it's a to a degree, it's a depreciating asset. That's why they actually allow people to write off against it and things of that nature. So it's always interesting to see this type of thought process when it comes to how to put money in the public, how to allocate capital. things of that nature. What should you be allocating capital towards? What should you be allocating your savings towards? Things of that nature, and energies towards. The world is an interesting place right now. What we can say is what's the benefit of owning your name? Elon Musk doesn't own his name. He's in trust. Bezos is in trust. All the greats are in trust. Buffett's in trust. What are you doing? What are we talking about? This shows the separation of education and the population. Oh, I don't want to learn what Buffett's doing. You're right. You're not going to do it. The ones that want to learn it, the education is provided at the Vault, Christian at trustchristian.com. Once again, it's Christian at trustchristian.com. You know Warren Buffett doesn't need to own his name. Come on now. We don't need to name everybody that doesn't own their name. But the thing about it is, where is the population? Most of the population doesn't want to say that they own their name, but their thought process is own everything. Right. We get people that come through for trustee training, get access to resources. You have to have a system in place. It's like a public school system. We got a private school system. It's a public training system. That's really what it is. It's a continuing education program. We've been talking about this for years. That's what trustee training is. It's a continuing education program. You got to get access to more resources. You think we're not investing to sit in rooms with billionaires? You got to invest to sit in a room with billionaires if you're going to trust Christian, own nothing, control everything. It's how you going to ever be a billionaire if you don't associate with billionaires? Oh man, I'm going to be the first billionaire from where I am. Have fun doing that. But usually birds of a feather flock together. And it's easier to do it if you're around people that have those type of ideas floating through their body. Are those ideas flowing through your body? Oh man, I need to own something. You think he owns his name? You think Elon Musk owns the name? Okay, here we go. We love Branson. You think Richard Branson owns his name? He got Virgin everything. He don't own nothing. That's the funny part. They'll call him CEO of the year though. This man walk around with swishy pants. So, when it comes down to it, do we need to own our name? No. Do we need to be Here we go. Here we go. Here's a great one. For the listening audience, thank you for listening this long. Thank you for tuning in live, listening to replay, hitting a like. We're going to give you the gem. Here's the gem for you new Americans and firstborn in the world. Your first gem. The only thing you really ever probably going to hardly own is the signature. So let's go there. You own the signature, but think about it. They're going to put signature on Wikipedia. So they're going to steal your signature. Are you even going to own the signature? So this is what the modern America has moved towards. I don't understand how people can knock this type of environment. It's one of the most sophisticated commercial environments in the world right now. They're protecting your IP not only in the old analog world, but in the digital world. If you want to protect it through NFTs, you can. If you want to protect it through copyright, you can. If you want to protect it through trademark, you can. There's many ways to protect these things. Bam. You protect the signature through the name, image, and likeness. They got all these different ways for you to protect it, but do you know how to protect it first? That's what we talk about at the Vault, is asset protection. But oh no, here's the trick, the Houdini trick for all you public first-generation wealtherners. You went to go make the money before you got asset protection. That's all it is. You skipped a few steps. Your family didn't tell you to step in from the family last name, from the last name. They told you step in with the first name. They told you go out there and make it on your own. Be independently wealthy in the first generational wealth environment. Well, yeah, when you go out and make first generational wealth, you got to build a name. It's the last name though, not your first name. Oh. And then we got to work with other families and we got to have integrity. Oh no, we got to do that? Maybe you don't think that you got to do that. But just know, if you want to think that it's a dog eat dog world out there, just know It's a world out there that, yeah, integrity is reigns supreme. The law, the rules. Hmm. Here we go. If you focused on your family, the bloodline, we focused on working with other families. It's easier to work with other families, people in trust, deal with people in trust, because you trust other people already. Now think about that. How many people come to the vote and say, I can't trust nobody in my family? Right. They gonna get wiped out. The families that stick together, y'all don't even want to know that Bezos got a twin brother. Y'all don't want to know that. These people focus on practicing family. When Bill and Melinda Gates said with Warren Buffett, we're not trying to throw big names out there, but we're trying to share with you. If you said you want the thought process, this is the thought process. Oh man, I gotta trust. We he, we recently we had a trustee and sharing with a mentor that has like over 20 years of experience in trusteeship. One of the mentors is actually more harder on you than most people. If you really get to know him, he's really just super accomplished. Met a lot of the people that you dream of in your life. When you think about the greats in life that you've seen on TV, when you hear about those people, he's met those people. And what's interesting is sometimes it just comes from not asking questions. A lot of times, a lot of people don't ask questions, and in turn, they don't get the results that they want. We've had to trust that mentor, went to visit that mentor many times. And that mentor has had a business in multi-state operator for an insurance company, uh, and has pretty much accomplished like some Olympic feats type deal. Pretty much like a chess master at one point in their life. They won pretty much like their like a state championship in or a national championship in like chess. So it's just things like that. Like when you meet these type of people, you're like, oh man, you're like a brainiac. You know what I mean? When somebody says they're really good at chess, like it's probably like you're kind of like a brainiac. You're not like a normal human walking around just trying to like watch TV. Like you actually know how to like outthink people to a degree about a game and things of that nature. So very strategic in that respect. So you think they don't know about owning your name? You think our mentors don't live owning your name? They don't own their names. You think our mentor, oh man, trust Christian Vault, man, come on, man. I know I gotta live this way, but how are they really living over there, man? Our mentors don't own their names. Our mentors come from a very steward perspective. They don't think about it like that. Our mentors, when you call it humble, they have the ability to trust people. That's all trust is having the ability to trust. You got to emulate trust. If you in trust, you got to emulate trust. But oh no, no, they don't want to hear the truth. See, we're okay with hearing the truth at the vote. We talk to the mentors. The mentors tell you, well, guess what? Uh, you got to go through the rites of passage. Trusteeship is a rites of passage. It's not something you can just walk into from the public. How? You got a public education. They did a number on you, gave you 12 years of public programming. If you think a few of those jigsaw puzzles didn't get in on you, they did. So the knee deeper you get into private, that means you got to come over here where we got to see you, ladies and gentlemen. We told you, we pulled up on the mentors. You got to pull up on the money. Because they say you don't have access to the Capitol. How you don't have access to the Capitol? You have access to the Capitol when you pull up on the Capitol. When somebody asks about getting loans, you got to pull up on the banks. We go to events where the banks are at. Whether it don't matter what bank it is. There are banks, the banks sponsor events. Well, we appreciate everybody for tuning in live, listening, to replay. We definitely know that the episodes usually don't go too much longer, but we always like to share with people and talk to people about pretty much the facts and our thoughts on it, at least, or our experience on it based off at the vault and how people will go about owning their name. Somebody could easily come in here and say, "Oh, you're going to change your name." That's good to hear. Not everybody wants to do that. So some people don't want to change their name. So when they don't change their name, then that's fine. Anybody can trademark their name. But once again, how don't you know? How don't people know who really owns Nike? See, Nike's a name. It's a trademark. But who owns it? That's who's liable. Remember, in the public, they give out a different form of equity. It's called shares. They give it out to the public. But then it has a private owner, right? Who's that? Those are the private owners. So when we talk about the public, it's a different type of environment, ladies and gentlemen. So let's talk about a few things right now. This whole public debt ceiling. And oh, now think about this. How the government going to sit here and play with your emotions and tell you that they could play with the debt ceiling? These are the people that's supposed to be working for you. They playing with your emotions. Oh man, we don't know if we could come to an agreement. Dingledorf and Dingle Dot, or whatever the hell they want to call themselves, whoever's wearing a suit and tie wants to sit here and tell you that we might not come to an agreement, or otherwise the country can go into default. Now let's think about this, ladies and gentlemen. Are the politicians the elite? Why would the elite allow the country to go bankrupt? Is it plausible? Is it probable? People are scared. Oh, oh, my name. I gotta not have the debt on my name. I gotta discharge an entity. Sure, you do. No, you don't. We talked to somebody. They was about to spend $300, $400, $500. Oh man, I'm about to do the private process. I was thinking about owning my name. I took a deep breath and I said, man, what is this really gonna get me? No money. Exactly. That's the step that you at anyways. It's making money. You're at the step of making money. That's the step most people are at in the public. They're making money. They jumped a few steps, which is asset protection. They jumped a few steps. Oh man, you right. I did try to. I'm making money. Right. A lot of people making money in the states, and they own their name. Oh man, I'm trying to pull myself out of it. You got people typing into the chat, pouring out their guts. I don't have any family that's really around to really help me out. Exactly, because this stuff is not easy. This is not the. What are you talking about? This is your 2% means that. Oh, here we go. We're gonna give a case study since the women want to type into the chat. Since people want to type into the chat. Oh, how is it over there on the private side? You know how many women, single women, come through the vault? They get in trusteeship, and yes, they have to meet men that are in trusteeship, or their life can change forever. Usually it does. So, based off the numbers, we'll say most of the women that have come through the vault have made more than $50,000. Fair enough, in an annual year. Could be greater, could be six at times, six figures. Okay, great. Point being is, when they're high income earners, these are just case studies from us. We can back this up even with testimonials, what happens is they get in a position where they have this knowledge of great knowledge, and we talk to people about getting in the environments. You got to get in the environments where wealthy people are now. You can't be in environments where, oh man, I'm going to meet somebody at my below my level. When we say that, we're talking about financial. Okay, now it's not just financial, it's knowledge. They run into a knowledge gap. We know this. We see it all the time at the vault. It's fine. You know how many women come through the vault and single women, and they're gonna run into that issue for sure, because you're running into trusteeship, your first generation wealth. Of course, your first gen, you're gonna run into those type of issues easy. If you have any type of dream in your heart, we see that come through all the time. They have dreams in their heart, and at that point, they just make it a point to, uh, yeah, they just make it a point to. We just had to mute someone out. It's just like they were a distraction. We're adding no value to what we're talking about right now. So, first generation wealth for sure with the ladies, we see that all the time. And you talk about family, think about that. Usually the last name is in the man's name, correct? In the man's, and usually in the states. So usually the family estate's gonna be in the man's last name, but now you have a lot of first generation wealth women from our case studies, from what we can share, they definitely run into these issues of finding a significant other, and in turn, that just means they have to get in the environment with other people that are in trusteeship. That's how that works. It's not a hard thing. It's just actually seeking out those environments, getting in those environments, and making those things happen. It's not anything else. You don't need to make any family member that's not going to be your immediate family believe in anything. It's really that simple. And so the advantage that's what the men have. They just pretty much have the ability to know that they're going to have the last name first, whereas the women, they have to always consider, like, well, pretty much I'm pretty much gonna run into a situation where in trusteeship, this is the prenup. The women that are in trusteeship are already in prenups, pretty much. That's how that goes. All the women that are out here saying, "Oh, I'm in trusteeship," you're in a prenup. You're pretty much not gonna let have anyone have access to what is it that you have currently. And so when you walk into a situation with a new guy or significant other situation, these situations, that's basically what happens. People walk into these situations now where, uh, you think about it, she's in trust. We know women that come through, they're married and they're entrusting the husband, he didn't catch on. Y'all don't want to hear these stories. The men are sitting there now in a very vulnerable position. Because at times, usually the man will be in that position and the woman may not be. Whereas, no, we have had women come through the vault, they'll be married, and yes, they have the information. And oh, yeah, oh, well, do they have it for their family? Sure, they do. Everybody's thinking it's not a bad thing, but it's the reality. In the states nowadays, people are thinking about that divorce. So this is one of those environments that people are prepared. That's what it comes down to. They're prepared. Are you prepared? So we get a lot of first generation wealthers, and we love to laugh at people or have fun with it, poke fun with the first generation ladies that come through when someone types into the chat just being vulnerable. We appreciate that vulnerability and sharing into the vault. The chat. How family can be at times. That's usually how it is with first generation wealth. You're gonna run into a lot of those pitfalls, and obviously, the deeper you get into generational wealth, it's easier to have people be on the same page or have many more people not be on the same page, but have a good core group of people that are administering a team of family situations, extended family situations. So that's very important, but it's very important to connect with people that you trust. So Christian at trustchristian.com, you can feel free to reach out. We understand that there is a cost to going private, but it's always going to be a cost to get in these environments. Just like they say they making the money, You gotta pay to play. How you not gonna pay to play? Y'all think you think about, okay, here we go. There used to be conferences, and then we're pretty sure there still are, because this is the way it is. That happened in the British Virgin Islands, the Cayman or wherever. And they will have groups of elite meet. So it's not abnormal for you to move into those circles, whether it's in the States or you're going to an island. You don't have to go to an island. You can go to another country. There are wealth countries like, well, there's a Latin one where for Latin America that we know about and we've attended. And so there's a Latin, conference that you can go to. Yes, that's for Latin American investments. Maybe hot zones. You got to invest. You got to do your due diligence. This is where we are, ladies and gentlemen. Hmm. Appreciate everybody for tuning in live, listen, replay. Always appreciate everybody for tuning in live, listen, replay. When you talk about how to own your name, how much does your freedom cost? See, that's what our mentors talk to us about, ladies and gentlemen. Y'all want to get into the nitty gritty before we get off of here. Let's get into the nitty gritty 50 minutes in. How do you own your name? How much freedom do you own? How much of your free time do you own? That's how you own your name. People want to talk about some trademark or something else. How do you own your name is how much time do you have? How much is your time worth? That's how much your name is worth. Most people aren't even making more than $50 an hour. Huh. That's leveling up. Anything, man, we ain't gonna go there today. It's trusteeship. It's stewardship. You don't need to own anything. You just need to manage and control your family last name. Appreciate everybody for tuning in live, listening to replay. Christian at trustchristian.com. Once again, Christian at trustchristian.com. Appreciate you all for tuning in live, listening to replay. Peace. Enjoy.